This book was never meant for the public, not because its truths are dangerous, but because most eyes are not yet ready to see them. If these words have found you, you have been chosen, not by chance, not by destiny, but by the silent intelligence that moves beneath your thoughts. The same intelligence that placed certain desires in your heart, certain questions in your mind, certain restlessness in your spirit. This is not a book you read, it is a book that remembers you. Every sentence a key, every parable a mirror, every revelation a doorway to what your soul has always known. But your mind has long forgotten. You were guided here by invisible hands, drawn not by curiosity, but by resonance. The frequency of these teachings matches something ancient within you, a sleeping memory beginning to stir. Understand this, you are not standing at the beginning of a journey. You are standing at the moment of awakening within one. You were not chosen because you are special. You were chosen because you are ready. And now, as the veil parts and the unseen currents gather around you, the first truth whispers, nothing in your life has been accidental. You have been led here by the quiet choreography of the universe, to receive what was once deemed too powerful, too sacred, too transformative. For the unprepared, this is the remembrance, this is the unveiling, this is the book that was never meant for the public, but it found you anyway, because you've been chosen. Chapter 1. The Calling You Mistook for Coincidence. Long before you reached this page, before the first whisper of intuition tugged at your awareness, before you even knew there were hidden paths beneath the visible world, something within you stirred. At first, it felt like a faint dissatisfaction, a subtle restlessness that clung to your days no matter how much you accomplished. You tried to outrun it with routine, with logic, with distraction, yet the feeling remained, a quiet knock at the door of your consciousness. You believed it was anxiety, or boredom, or ambition without form, but it was none of these. It was the calling. The universe rarely announces its invitations with thunder or spectacle. Instead, it speaks in the language of subtlety, a thought that arrives without origin, a desire that refuses to die, a coincidence too precise to dismiss. These are the gentle ways in which the unseen beckons the prepared soul, testing whether it will listen or retreat back into the familiar. You have felt this calling for longer than you realize. It hid itself in the patterns of your life, those fleeting moments of déjà vu, the dreams that felt like memories, the opportunities that appeared at impossible timing, the inner voice you ignored for years but could never silence. The calling appears first as discomfort, not because the universe wishes to disturb you, but because transformation cannot bloom in complacency. The soul uses longing as its compass, pointing you toward the life you were designed to ascend into. In a small village hugged by sweeping hills lived a craftsman named Elias. For decades he carved wooden trinkets that pleased the townspeople but left his spirit untouched. Each morning he awoke with the same dull ache, a feeling as though something vital inside him slept, waiting to be stirred. But he convinced himself that this was simply life, that everyone felt this way, that longing was a childish luxury. One day, while walking through the forest gathering wood, Elias discovered a fallen branch unlike any he had ever seen. Its texture shimmered subtly, the grain swirling like smoke frozen in time. His hands trembled as he picked it up. The moment he touched it, an inexplicable warmth surged through his palms, traveling up his arms and settling in his chest. A thought appeared in his mind, clear as a bell. Carve what you have never dared to carve. He dismissed it as imagination, yet the feeling lingered like perfume in an empty room. That night, he could not sleep. Something inside him pressed forward, pushing against the walls of his reluctance. With hesitant hands, he lit his lantern, set the mysterious branch before him, and began to carve. Not trinkets, not toys, but a figure he had dreamed of since childhood, a soaring phoenix of pure radiance. Hours dissolved into seconds. His hands moved with a wisdom that felt borrowed from something greater. And when the sculpture was finished, he wept, not because of its beauty, but because he recognized himself in it. The next morning, villagers who passed by his workshop stopped, unable to move their gaze from the sculpture. Whispers grew into awe. Someone offered payment. Another offered more. A traveling merchant demanded to know if other pieces existed. Elias realized then that the ache he had ignored for decades was not a burden. It was a beacon. The calling had always been there. He had simply mistaken it for dissatisfaction. The universe will not force you toward your path. It will, however, refuse to let you forget it. Perhaps you've noticed this too. The job you outgrew long before you admitted it. The relationship that crumbled because your soul needed more truth. The sudden pull towards certain books, places, or people. The uncanny feeling that something is waking up inside you. These were not random events. They were the calling disguised as coincidence. Your life has been woven with invisible threads guiding you toward this very moment. Not to punish you, but to prepare you. Not to confuse you, but to align you. Not to test you, but to awaken you to the truth. Everything you have outgrown was meant to fall away. Everything that remains is part of your ascension. The calling rarely feels like clarity at first. It feels like unrest, like a gentle but persistent push from something you cannot see yet cannot ignore, like a memory of a destiny you haven't lived, but somehow already know. You were guided here, not because you stumbled upon this book, but because you finally stopped resisting the pull toward what you are meant to become. Ancient practice, the whisper of recognition. Tonight, before sleep claims you, sit in stillness. Place your hand over your heart and breathe deeply 3 times. Ask silently, where have I mistaken my calling for discomfort? What longing has never truly left me? What is trying to rise within me now? Do not force answers, simply listen. Within the silence, you will feel a subtle shift, a warmth, a memory, a knowing. This is the calling revealing its true name. Answer it gently, for it has waited lifetimes to speak to you. Chapter 2. The moment the universe first spoke your name. There is a moment in every soul's existence when the universe whispers its first invitation. Not the moment of birth, nor the moment of awakening, but the moment when consciousness touches you with unmistakable intention. It comes before understanding, before belief, before any sense of spiritual identity. It is the moment when the universe speaks your name, not aloud, but through the orchestration of events so precise they transcend coincidence. Most people do not recognize this moment when it arrives, but the chosen do. Even if they dismiss it at first, even if they rationalize it, even if they forget it, only to remember years later with trembling awe. This moment is the first proof that reality is interactive, responsive, alive. For you, it may have appeared as a sudden, unexplainable pause in time, a second when the world felt brighter, stranger, more significant, or as a meeting with someone who altered the trajectory of your life with a single sentence, or as a near-miss tragedy that left you shaken, wondering why you were being preserved, or as a dream that did not feel like dreaming at all. In an ancient desert city lived a young woman named Leora. She worked in a modest pottery shop, shaping clay into practical vessels. Her days were simple, predictable, quiet. Yet from childhood she had felt an invisible thread tugging at her awareness, a sensation that the world contained layers beneath its surface. She told no one, for such ideas were dismissed as madness. One evening, while closing the shop, she accidentally dropped an unfinished pot. The vessel shattered across the floor, splitting cleanly into 7 pieces. But something strange happened. In the lantern's glow, the fragments arranged themselves not randomly, but in the shape of a sigil she had seen only in dreams, a swirling pattern of lines and curves she could never reproduce upon waking. Her breath caught. Time seemed to fold around her. The air thickened with presence, and in the center of her chest a warmth bloomed, a sensation of being seen by something vast and benevolent. The moment lasted only a heartbeat. Then the feeling faded, leaving her trembling in the dim light, tears slipping down her cheeks without understanding why. Leora swept the pieces away, but the sigil remained etched in her memory. That night, she dreamt vividly of walking through a luminous desert, guided by the very symbol that had formed from the broken pot. The sigil pulsed like a living star, drawing her onward. When she awoke, she understood. The universe had spoken her name. The world had shifted slightly, imperceptibly yet unmistakably. Her old life no longer fit. Your moment may not have resembled Leora's, but it carried the same truth. You have felt reality bend around you in ways you cannot explain. A sign appearing the instant you needed it, but never voiced. A message delivered through a stranger. A sudden knowing that flooded your mind with clarity you did not earn. These experiences are not imagination. They are the universe's way of acknowledging you. A cosmic nod, a silent recognition, an invitation. Not everyone receives such moments, and fewer still notice them. But you did, perhaps not fully, perhaps not immediately, but something inside you recognized the significance. You felt the fabric of existence quiver. You felt meaning radiate from an ordinary moment. You felt seen. This was not metaphor. It was the quantum field acknowledging your awakening potential. In the mountains of the East, there exists an old teaching. When the soul is ready, life rearranges itself. This is not poetry. It is physics wrapped in myth. Your readiness shifts your frequency. Your frequency shifts your experiences. Your experiences shift your entire trajectory. When the universe first spoke your name, it was not testing you. It was aligning you. It was saying, I see you. I have been waiting. You are not alone in this journey. The path is ready. Step forward. Many ignore their moment because it does not fit their rational worldview. But you, whether consciously or unconsciously, answered. Your path led you here. Your readiness revealed itself through attraction, curiosity, synchronicity. Your life conspired to bring you to this page, because the universe does not speak your name unless you are meant to hear it. Ancient practice, the memory of recognition. Sit quietly at dusk or dawn, times when the veil is thinnest. Place your palms upward on your lap, close your eyes. Ask silently, when did the universe first speak my name? When did I feel the impossible brush against the ordinary? When did I sense I was being guided? Allow memories to rise without force. It may be a childhood moment, a near accident, a dream, a conversation, a sign too blatant to ignore. When the memory appears, whisper, I remember. This simple acknowledgement reopens ancient channels of guidance, allowing the universe to speak more clearly, more frequently, more powerfully. For once you recognize the first whisper, you will never again miss the next. Chapter 3. The Echo of Forgotten Lifetimes. There are memories you carry that do not belong to this life, not in the way you normally think of memory, not as scenes you can replay or names you can recall, but as resonances. Embedded in your bones, your longings, your inexplicable fears and affinities, these are the echoes of forgotten lifetimes. Though the mind forgets, consciousness does not. It stores every lesson, every heartbreak, every triumph, every unfinished intention. In the luminous field of awareness, you call your soul. And when the time is right, when you are ready to awaken, these echoes rise like ancient songs carried on a distant wind. You've felt them, the places you've never visited yet feel like home. The people you meet for the first time but instantly recognize. The skills you learn with impossible ease, as though your hands remember what your mind cannot. The desires so profound they feel predestined. The paths you avoid without knowing why. These are not random quirks of personality. They are breadcrumbs left by your own spirit, markers guiding you toward your present purpose. In a secluded forest village lived a young woman named Selene. From early childhood, she would wake in the middle of the night, heart pounding, with vivid images flooding her mind. Cities made of crystal reaching into purple skies, temples carved into mountains glowing with fire, a vast ocean swirling with colors no mortal eyes had ever seen. She tried to tell her family, but they shook their heads and smiled, believing her dreams were merely imagination. As wild as the forest she played in. Yet Selene knew there was more. Whenever she walked by the old riverbank, her heart would ache with a strange familiarity, as though someone she loved had waited for her there, for lifetimes. One afternoon, an elderly traveler visited the village bearing nothing but a weathered staff, and eyes that shimmered like moonlit water. As he passed Selene, he stopped abruptly, gazing at her with reverence. "You've returned far sooner than I expected," he whispered. Selene felt the air thicken around them, a silence charged with ancient recognition. "Returned?" she asked, trembling. The old man nodded, his smile edged with a sadness too deep to name. "Your dreams are not dreams," he said softly. "They are memories. Your soul remembers what your mind has forgotten." And then he told her a story she did not recognize, yet felt echo through every cell of her being. He spoke of a healer from a distant age, who bound light into form, who sang over water until it glowed with power, who carried the gift of vision in her hands. A healer who vanished mysteriously, at the very river where Selena now stood. The moment he finished, Selene felt a sudden shift inside her, like a lock turning, like an ancient door opening, like a homecoming. Something in her had awakened, and the old man, with a knowing glance, continued down the path, never to return. Selene's life was never the same. Her dreams grew clearer, her instincts sharpened. She began healing injured animals with a touch. She sensed emotions in others before they spoke, and she understood with crystalline certainty that her presence in the village was temporary, that she had come to remember something vital and carry it into a new existence. You too carry these echoes. Your deepest passions are not random. They are the continuation of ancient devotions. Your fears, especially the irrational ones, are remnants of wounds carried across timelines. Your talents are not newly learned, but reawakened. You are a tapestry woven from many lives, each thread shimmering with lessons and wisdom. The more you awaken, the louder these echoes become, until they stop being whispers and become directives. The universe does not burden you with unfinished stories, it offers them as guidance. The question is not whether you've lived before, the question is which parts of yourself you are ready to reclaim now. Ancient practice, the remembering breath. Find a quiet place where the air feels still and untouched. Sit comfortably, spine tall but relaxed. Close your eyes and inhale slowly through your nose. As you inhale, silently say, "I remember." As you exhale, release gently through your mouth and whisper internally, "Guide me." Repeat this cycle 7 times. Do not search for memories. Do not force images or stories. Simply allow sensations, emotions, or subtle impressions to rise naturally. The soul speaks softly. It reveals only what you are ready to reclaim. When you finish, place your hand over your heart and acknowledge the wisdom stirring within. I honor all that I have been and all I am becoming. This simple ritual opens the channel between your present lifetime and the vast archive of who you truly are. Chapter 4. The Hidden Architecture of Synchronicity. There are forces moving beneath your life, like underground rivers, silent, powerful, unseen. They shape your experiences long before you notice the pattern. They connect events that appear unrelated, people who seem randomly placed, timings that defy logic. This is the architecture of synchronicity. Not coincidence, not luck, not fate, but design. Synchronicities are the universe's way of revealing alignment, a silent language spoken between your soul and reality. They begin subtly, a repeated number, a phrase overheard at the exact moment you needed it, a door closing seconds before another opens, a person arriving in your life, precisely when you are preparing to rise or crumble. You shrug these off at first, but the signs grow louder. The timing grows tighter, the messages grow clearer, until you can no longer pretend they are random. In a great coastal city lived a man named Rowan. Rowan worked tirelessly as a merchant, moving from market to market, with little thought for anything beyond his routine. One morning, as he prepared for a long journey, a small feather drifted down onto his shoulder. He brushed it off without a second thought. But later that day, another feather appeared, this time in his wagon. By evening, a third feather settled directly on the ledger he held in his hands. Annoyed and confused, Rowan tossed it aside. But that night, something strange happened. He dreamt vividly of a white bird perched on his windowsill, gazing at him with an intelligence that felt ancient. In the dream, the bird spoke without words, communicating a simple message: change your path. When Rowan awoke, he felt unsettled, but he dismissed the dream as nothing more than the product of an overworked mind. The next morning, as he opened his door, a white bird, just like the one in his dream, landed on the railing before him. It held a single feather in its beak, tilting its head as if waiting for him to understand. Rowan froze. At that very moment, a messenger ran through the square shouting news that the main road leading to Rowan's destination had collapsed in a sudden landslide during the night. Had he left earlier, he would have been on that road. Rowan sank to his knees, realizing the feathers were not random. The dream was not imagination. The bird before him was not chance. It was synchronicity. The universe arranging events, signs, and symbols with impeccable precision to guide him towards safety and away from disaster. This is how the hidden architecture works. It bends reality to place you in the right moment, at the right time, with the right people, for the right outcomes. When you ignore synchronicity, life becomes heavier, more chaotic, more resistant. But when you recognize it and move in harmony with its signs, everything unfolds with a grace that feels miraculous. Synchronicity is not the universe controlling you. It is the universe collaborating with you. It responds to your inner state, your intentions, your vibration. As your consciousness expands, the signs become more frequent. Because the veil becomes thinner, you begin to see the threads connecting everything. You begin to understand that the world is not happening to you. It is happening with you. The architecture of synchronicity reveals one profound truth. Reality is interactive. It listens, it responds, it adjusts itself to the frequency you hold. When you are ready for a new chapter, the signs appear like lanterns. When you are veering off your path, obstacles rise to redirect you. When your desire aligns with your purpose, doors unlock with impossible timing. Synchronicity is the universe's way of saying, here, follow this, you are getting closer. And now that you have begun to awaken, synchronicities will increase. The timings will grow sharper. The patterns will become undeniable. Because you are no longer moving unconsciously. You are now walking with awareness. And awareness activates the architecture. Ancient practice, the path of 3 signs. Tonight or tomorrow, choose a question, intention, or direction you seek clarity about. Hold it gently in your mind, not with desperation, but with openness. Then speak silently. Show me 3 signs. Let them be clear. Let them be aligned. Let them be true. Release all expectation. In the next 72 hours, 3 synchronicities will appear. Numbers, symbols, words, encounters, delays, opportunities, sensations. Do not analyze. Do not force meaning. Just observe. When the 3rd sign arrives, you will feel a shift. A knowing, a quiet certainty. This is the architecture revealing your next step. Trust it, for it is the universe, building a bridge from where you stand to where you are destined to rise. Chapter 5. The Field That Watches You Back. Most people move through life believing they observe reality. They think they look out upon a passive world, a world that sits silently, unresponsive, indifferent. But the truth is far stranger. Reality is not a backdrop, not an environment, not a stage upon which you walk. Reality watches you as intently as you watch it. There is a field, an unseen intelligence, that surrounds you, interacts with you, studies you, responds to the slightest tremor of your thoughts. It mirrors your inner world with flawless precision. You have felt this, even if you never named it. The thought that becomes a coincidence the next morning. The fear that silently manufactures the very scenario you hope to avoid. The desire that draws the exact opportunity into your orbit. The shift in your mood that mysteriously alters the behavior of those around you. These are not accidents. They are evidence of the field. This field is alive. Not in a biological sense, but in a conscious one. Your thoughts ripple through it like vibrations on water. Your emotions color it with distinct frequencies. Your beliefs structure it like architecture. In a coastal kingdom centuries ago lived a scholar named Arion, a man who dedicated his life to unraveling the secrets of the universe. Yet despite his brilliance, something eluded him. He could measure the stars, chart the tides, calculate eclipses, but he could not explain the strange phenomenon that followed him everywhere. Whatever he expected became true. If he anticipated a peaceful journey at sea, the waters remained calm. If he feared a storm, thunder cracked across the sky even on cloudless days. If he believed a student capable of greatness, they exceeded every limitation. If he doubted someone's intentions, they eventually betrayed him. Arion assumed these events were mere coincidence, until one fateful night changed his understanding forever. He was traveling home through a forest path, when a sudden unease washed over him. Though the night was silent, Arion felt watched, not by an animal, but by the very air around him. Moments later, a torch ignited beside the trail. An elderly monk stepped forward, robed in silver cloth, eyes glowing with ancient understanding. "You feel it, don't you?" the monk asked softly. "The field is responding." Arion, startled, asked, "Responding to what?" The monk pointed to Arion's chest. "To you." He then pressed his palm lightly to the earth, and a ripple spread outward, visible, luminous, impossible. The forest leaves trembled in response. "This world is not dead matter," the monk continued. "It is living consciousness, and consciousness listens." Arion's breath caught. All the strange happenings of his life suddenly made sense. "The field does not obey your words," the monk explained. "It obeys your being." That night, Arion stayed with the monk, and through hours of conversation under moonlit trees, his view of reality shifted forever. The monk taught him, thoughts are not private, feelings are not isolated. Belief is not internal. Everything you are radiates outward into the field, and the field reorganizes itself accordingly. The universe is not reacting to you, it is collaborating with you. Arion returned to the kingdom transformed. He realized that his expectations were shaping his reality, not because he was special, but because he was conscious. And consciousness is the architect of experience. You too shape the field without realizing it. When you fear losing something, the field constricts around you, mirroring scarcity. When you act from desperation, the field echoes chaos. When you trust deeply, the field rearranges with elegance. When you embody gratitude, the field multiplies blessings. When you walk with certainty, pathways open effortlessly. Your entire life is a conversation between your frequency and the responsive, attentive field around you. You are not living in reality. You are living with reality. Every thought you whisper, every emotion you nurture, and every belief you hold is interpreted as instruction. The field is always listening, always translating, always shaping. This is why self-awareness matters more than any ritual. Why your inner world is the true engine of manifestation. Why the universe feels personal. Because it is. Not because it targets you, but because you continuously signal to it. The field does not judge. It mirrors, it reflects. It harmonizes with your dominant vibration. You are experiencing not what you want, but what you are. And the more conscious you become, the more responsive the field becomes. This is why awakenings accelerate synchronicity, why intention becomes powerful after spiritual clarity, why miracles happen more frequently once you recognize them. You are not a visitor in this reality. You are a co-creator of it. And the field is your silent partner. Ancient practice, the mirror breath. Stand or sit where you will not be interrupted. Close your eyes. Place your hands gently over your heart. With each inhale, imagine drawing energy from the field around you. With each exhale, imagine sending your intention outward. Repeat silently. What I feel, the field becomes. What I believe, the field arranges. What I am, reality reflects. Remain here for several minutes. Feel the boundary between you and the world soften. Sense the oneness, the collaboration, the subtle magic always present but rarely seen. This is the truth you were never taught. You live inside a conscious universe that has been waiting for you to realize you can speak its language. Chapter 6. Thought Forms and the Currents. They command. Every thought you think is more than a fleeting moment of mind. It is a force, a living, vibrating structure that enters the unseen world and begins shaping currents of energy around you. These are thought forms. They are the architects of your destiny, the subtle creators that sculpt the invisible before it becomes visible. Most people send them out unconsciously, allowing fear, doubt, and habit to generate chaotic patterns. But the chosen learn to wield thought forms deliberately, like artists shaping luminous clay. The ancients knew this well. In a desert city where the sands shimmered like molten gold, there lived a master artisan named Nadir. Unlike the merchants who carved stone or sculpted bronze, Nadir sculpted something far more mysterious. He sculpted thought. People traveled great distances to witness his craft, for Nadir could speak an intention with absolute clarity and watch reality rearrange itself in response. If he envisioned a meeting, the person appeared. If he imagined rain, clouds gathered above. If he pictured abundance, opportunity blossomed around him. Many believed he possessed magic, a secret spell or mystical artifact, but Nadir would simply smile and say, "I do not cast spells, I cast thoughts." One afternoon, a young apprentice named Hamir approached him. "Master," he asked, "how do your thoughts become real while others remain imaginary?" Nadir handed him a bowl of still water. "Think a fearful thought," he instructed. Hamir did. Instantly the water trembled violently, rippling with sharp, chaotic waves. "Now think a thought of gratitude," Hamir did. And the water calmed, settling into a radiant stillness so clear that it reflected the clouds above like glass. "Again," Nadir said, "so you understand." Hamir tried anger. The water darkened. He tried joy. The water shimmered as though illuminated from within. He tried envy, disappointment, excitement, each thought altering the water in a unique pattern. Nadir knelt beside him. "The water is the world," he whispered. "It responds to thought forms instantly, not later, not someday, now." Hamir stared at the shifting reflections, mesmerized. Nadir continued, "Your thoughts leave your mind the moment you think them. They become currents, winds, patterns. They shape the unseen, and the unseen becomes the seen." "And what if I cannot control my thoughts?" Hamir asked. Nadir smiled gently. "Then your life will be sculpted by thoughts you never intended to keep." This truth is just as relevant now as it was in Nadir's time. Your thoughts are not private. They are creative. Fear creates stagnant currents that block opportunity. Resentment builds turbulent patterns that disrupt relationships. Jealousy constructs spirals of lack. Worry summons timelines filled with obstacles, but joy opens pathways. Peace steadies the flow of experience. Gratitude attracts synchronicities like magnetic stars. Certainty accelerates manifestation. Love transforms the entire field into harmony. The universe does not respond to what you say you want. It responds to the thought forms you consistently generate. These thought forms accumulate, they merge, they compound, they gain momentum. A single thought is like a breeze. A repeated thought becomes wind. A belief becomes a current. A dominant belief becomes a tide. That pulls reality in its direction. This is why changing your life requires changing your inner patterns. The ocean of consciousness listens. Every thought asks, and reality answers. Yet most people allow their thoughts to drift unobserved, swarming with fear, buzzing with doubt, polluted with the debris of past wounds. They wonder why their lives stagnate, why nothing changes, why progress eludes them. But the chosen realize something crucial. You cannot experience beyond your thought forms. To change the external, you must first tend to the internal. Your thoughts are the architects of your future. This is not metaphor, it is metaphysical law. And the moment you grasp this, you become powerful in ways others cannot comprehend. Not because you force reality, but because you align with the currents that create it. Thought forms are the seeds. Reality is the harvest. Ancient practice, the current of one thought. Sit in silence with your spine straight and your breathing calm. Choose one thought, just one. A pure, simple, uncontradicted thought that resonates with truth. Examples: I am safe and I am guided. My path is opening. I receive with ease. Everything is aligning for me. Hold this thought gently. Do not grip it. Do not strain. Let it float like a feather on a still lake. Feel the emotion behind it. Feel its sincerity. Feel its frequency. Stay with this single thought for several minutes. Notice how your body shifts, how the atmosphere around you subtly thickens, how the world feels closer, more responsive. In this practice, you are not merely thinking, you are shaping. One thought held in purity is more powerful than 1,000 unfocused wishes. This is how you begin commanding the currents of the unseen, not with force, but with intentionality, with presence, with clarity. Your thoughts are not small, they are not insignificant. They are the script the universe follows. Faithfully, precisely, relentlessly, Choose them with reverence, and the currents they command will guide you into a reality you once believed impossible. Chapter 7. Feeling, the language of the universe. Thoughts may shape the blueprint of your reality, but it is feeling that animates the blueprint into form. Feeling is the electricity that lights the circuit, the breath that animates clay, the sacred fire that turns intention into manifestation. Most people believe the universe listens to what they say, but the universe listens to what they feel. Words can be deceiving, thoughts can be fleeting, beliefs can be buried, but feelings, raw, potent, undiluted, are the purest frequency of your consciousness. Feeling is the language the universe cannot ignore. In a lush valley surrounded by ancient cedar groves lived a healer named Amara. People traveled from distant lands seeking her remedies, for she carried an astonishing ability. She could sense the emotional weather within any person before they uttered a single word. One morning, a young man named Jorah arrived at her cottage. He was strong in body but trembling in spirit, his eyes shadowed by fear. "I have repeated affirmations for months," he said desperately. "I speak abundance, I speak confidence, I speak my desires, yet nothing changes. Why won't the universe listen?" Amara beckoned him closer and placed her hand above his heart. "Because your words rise like smoke," she said gently, "but your feelings burn like fire. The universe responds to the fire." Confused, Jorah asked, "What do you mean?" Amara led him to a still pond nestled between mossy stones. "Speak a word," she instructed. He whispered, "Prosperity." The pond remained calm. "Now," she said softly, "feel prosperity." Jorah hesitated, unsure what she meant. "Not imagine, not think, feel." She tapped his chest. "Here, let the sensation ignite from within." Jorah closed his eyes. Slowly, he remembered a moment from childhood. A day when he felt safe, supported, cared for, when he believed all was well and all would be well. Warmth bloomed in his chest. Peace spread through his ribs. Hope unfurled like a delicate flower, and the pond responded. Gentle ripples spread outward. Not from wind, not from movement, but from the frequency he emitted. Jorah's eyes flew open. "The pond mirrors your feeling," Amara said. "And so does the universe." Jorah finally understood. He had been speaking abundance while feeling scarcity. He declared confidence while feeling unworthy. He recited positive words while carrying a trembling, fearful heart. His feelings cancelled out his affirmations, because feeling is the master frequency, the true signal the universe receives. The truth is simple. You cannot feel one thing and manifest another. You cannot feel lack and receive abundance. You cannot feel fear and attract safety. You cannot feel powerless and summon opportunity. You cannot feel unworthy and manifest love. You receive what matches your emotional frequency. Not the one you pretend to hold, but the one you actually hold. Feeling is the emotional signature you broadcast into the quantum field, and the universe responds with unerring precision. This explains the strange phenomenon you've experienced. Those moments when you knew something good was coming. And it did. Those days when dread filled your chest and things fell apart. Those sudden shifts of feeling that were followed almost instantly by shifts in your external world. Feeling is the currency of creation, and yet most people misunderstand it. They try to force positive feelings. Like forcing a smile on a grieving child, they try to suppress negative feelings, like shoving smoke back into the fire. But the universe does not ask you to pretend. It asks you to align. Authentic emotional alignment is not about ignoring heavy feelings. It is about allowing them to pass through you without letting them become your dominant frequency. A storm can pass through a sky without becoming the sky. Feelings come and go, but the emotional state you nurture consistently becomes your broadcast signal. Feeling is not created through repetition. It is created through inner resonance. To feel something, you must invite it, welcome it, give it space to rise naturally, instead of demanding it appear on command. Amara taught Jorah one final lesson that day. She placed her hand again over her heart and said, "Feelings are not reactions. They are invitations. They summon the reality that matches them. Feeling is the universe's interpreter. Feeling is the translator between thought and manifestation. Feeling is the internal compass that guides the unfolding of your destiny. And now, you must learn the ancient art of emotional alchemy. Ancient practice, the seat of feeling. Sit comfortably with your back straight and your hands resting gently in your lap. Close your eyes. Inhale slowly through your nose until your chest expands with warmth. As you exhale, whisper internally, "I allow the feeling to rise." Bring to mind something you desire, not as an image, but as a sensation. Ask yourself, what would this feel like if it were already mine? Do not force the emotion. Let it emerge from the depths within you. Allow it to bloom. Let the warmth spread. Let the heart open. Let the sensation become your inner reality, even for a moment. Because a moment of true feeling is more powerful than a lifetime of empty words. You are learning the universe's native tongue, and it listens to the frequency of your heart, far more than the noise of your mind. Chapter 8. The Law Beneath All Laws. There are countless teachings across the world. Laws of attraction, laws of abundance, laws of vibration, laws of assumption, laws of creation, but all these laws are branches of a deeper truth. Beneath every spiritual principle lies a single foundation, a law so fundamental that the ancient mystics hid it behind parables, symbols, and metaphor. To protect it from the unprepared, your awareness creates your experience, not your thoughts alone, not your emotions alone, not your actions alone, your awareness. What you recognize as real, what you attune to, what you accept as truth, is the architect of your reality. Awareness is the primordial law. In a bustling mountainside city lived a woman named Theron, a devout seeker who studied every metaphysical teaching she encountered. Her home was filled with scrolls, talismans, crystals, and diagrams, each promising to unlock the secrets of creation. Yet despite her devotion, her life remained stagnant. Her manifestations failed. Her rituals bore little fruit. Her prayers floated upward, without echo. One day, during a harsh winter, Theron climbed a sacred mountain in search of a hermit, rumored to possess the knowledge she sought. After a long, grueling ascent, she found an old man sitting before a simple fire, his cloak tattered, his presence radiant. Theron bowed deeply and presented her collection of scrolls. "Master, I've studied every law," she said breathlessly. "But nothing changes. What am I missing?" The hermit touched the pile of scrolls gently, as if touching the shells of long-forgotten creatures. "These," he said softly, "are only reflections." "Reflections of what?" Theron asked. The hermit pointed to the fire. The flames danced without wind, their movements deliberate, almost sentient. "Awareness," he said, "the fire behind the shadows on the wall." Theron frowned. "I don't understand." The hermit picked up a bowl of snow and placed it near the flame. Slowly, the snow melted into clear water. "What melted the snow?" he asked. "The fire, of course," Theron replied. "And what do you focus on?" he asked, gesturing toward her scrolls. "On the water," she answered. "On how to melt the snow." The hermit smiled. "Yet the fire does the melting. You study the effects, but ignore the source." Theron felt a shiver, not from the cold, but from recognition. The hermit continued, "The universe responds not to your techniques, but to your awareness of truth. When you recognize something as real, the world rearranges to match that recognition." He placed the bowl of water into her hands. "Hold this," he said. Theron did. "What is this?" he asked. "Water," she replied. "And if you believed it were ice?" he asked. Her brows knotted. "It would still be water?" The hermit nodded. "Yes, because your belief is weak. Awareness is not belief. Awareness is knowing." He leaned closer. "When you know, reality conforms." He placed the bowl back by the fire. Moments later, the water began to steam. "Your awareness is the furnace," the hermit whispered. "All else is smoke." Suddenly, Theron understood. She had been learning rituals instead of cultivating awareness. She had memorized techniques, but neglected the consciousness behind them. She had studied the branches and ignored the root. The universe does not obey your words, it obeys your recognition. You cannot manifest abundance While being aware of lack, you cannot manifest love. While being aware of unworthiness, you cannot manifest peace. While being aware of chaos, awareness selects the reality you inhabit. Feeling amplifies it, thought directs it, action grounds it, but awareness initiates it all. This is the law beneath the laws. Once Theron grasped this, her life shifted rapidly. She no longer begged reality to change. She recognized the version of reality that already existed in the quantum field and aligned with it. She didn't say, "I will become abundant." She recognized, "There is a version of me who already is." And reality responded, "You are learning to do the same." The universe cannot deny what you genuinely know to be true. It mirrors your awareness with absolute fidelity. When your awareness shifts, everything shifts. Ancient practice, the flame of knowing. Sit in a dim room with a single candle lit. Gaze softly at the flame. Let your breath fall into a gentle rhythm. Speak silently. I focus on the fire, not the shadows. Bring to mind something you desire to experience, not as a wish, not as a hope, but as a reality you are ready to recognize. Ask yourself, what would I know? If this were already true, let the knowledge settle into your chest, without force. Awareness is not effort, it is remembrance. Hold the candle's flame in your vision and whisper internally, "I know." And because I know it, it becomes. This is the law beneath all laws, the truth creation bows to. Not belief, not thought, not technique, awareness. And now that you know this, nothing in your life can remain the same. Chapter 9. Resistance, the silent saboteur. Before a desire becomes reality, before a vision enters form, before a possibility becomes a lived experience, it must pass through one threshold, the space between intention and allowing. In that space lives resistance, the silent saboteur of creation. Resistance is not loud, it is not dramatic, and it rarely announces itself. It does not scream fear or shout no. Instead, it appears as hesitation, as doubt disguised as logic, as procrastination masked as caution, as emotional tension woven into the edges of your dreams. Resistance is the invisible force that tightens your chest when you think of moving forward, that whispers, "Not yet," that slows your steps, that dims your certainty, that makes the impossible feel heavy, and the possible feel out of reach. It is not an enemy, it is a signal, a mirror revealing where your inner world is not yet aligned with what you desire to receive. In a mountainous kingdom carved from ancient stone lived a young musician named Lyra. Her voice could silence storms, her melodies stirred the hearts of even the sternest warriors. People whispered that she was born of celestial lineage, a child whose songs could bend reality. But Lyra carried a secret. She feared her own power. Each time she stepped onto the stage, her heart clenched with invisible hands, her throat tightened, her breath grew shallow. And though her songs were beautiful, they never reached the heights she felt within. One evening, after a performance that left her trembling, Lyra wandered into a forgotten alley, behind the grand amphitheater. There she found an elderly woman, sitting beside a flickering lantern, humming a melody so haunting that the air itself vibrated. Drawn toward her, Lyra approached. "You sing beautifully," she whispered. The woman smiled with eyes like deep wells of memory. "And so do you, but only halfway." Lyra froze. "How do you know that?" The old woman placed a hand on her chest. "I can hear the notes you hold back, not because you lack talent, but because you resist your own brilliance." Lyra's breath stilled. "Resistance," the woman continued, "is the tension between who you are and who you are afraid to become." She handed Lyra a small wooden bowl filled with water. "Sing your next note into this bowl." Lyra hesitated, but eventually sang a soft, trembling note. The water stirred, not from her voice, but from the trembling inside her. The surface rippled with uneven waves, as though reacting to something deeper than sound. "Now," the woman said, "sing again. Not with your voice, but with your permission." Lyra did not know what that meant, so the woman explained. "When your desire collides with fear, your energy knots itself. You cannot receive what you resist. You cannot reveal what you fear in yourself." Lyra closed her eyes. She inhaled slowly. She let her shoulders drop. She released the need to impress anyone. She gave herself permission to be powerful, even if only for one breath. Then she sang. This time, the sound vibrated through the ground, echoed off the stone walls, and caused the water to form perfect concentric rings. Smooth even, harmonious. Lyra opened her eyes in awe. The old woman whispered, "The universe responds not to talent, but to alignment. Resistance is the veil that muffles your magic." The lesson struck her like lightning. Resistance had not been an obstacle external to her. It had been the tension within. Every dream she had suppressed, every fear she had obeyed, every wound she carried, had woven invisible threads around her voice, and those threads had shaped her reality. For resistance disrupts flow. It interrupts manifestation. It blocks the path of least resistance. With the walls of self-doubt, when you resist something, you prevent it from entering your life, even if you consciously desire it. The man who desires love but fears vulnerability resists connection. The woman who desires abundance but holds beliefs of unworthiness resists prosperity. The seeker who desires transformation but clings to comfort resists ascension. Resistance is the contraction before expansion, the tightening before release, the shadow before illumination. It is not meant to stop you, only to reveal where you must soften, where you must let go, where you must choose alignment over fear. Every time you feel tension around your desire, you are meeting the part of yourself that does not yet believe it is safe to receive it. Resistance is the guardian at the gate of manifestation, asking only one question: can you allow what you are asking for? Not want, not wish for, not think about. Allow. Because allowing is not passive. It is the highest form of trust. It is the essence of alignment. It is the surrender of tension and the acceptance of flow. The moment Lyra understood this, her voice changed forever. Not because she learned a new technique, but because she released the inner knot. That had kept her power dormant. This same release is now being asked of you. Where your resistance lives, your breakthrough waits. Ancient practice, the softening. Sit comfortably and place your hand over your solar plexus, the center of your will. Breathe deeply. Bring to mind something you desire, but have struggled to experience. Ask internally, where does my body resist this? Scan your chest, your stomach, your throat, your shoulders. When you feel the tension, do not fight it. Do not judge it. Do not force it away. Simply whisper inwardly, I allow this to soften. Repeat it 3 times. As you soften, you create space, and as you create space, the universe fills it. This is the moment resistance dissolves, and reality begins to flow toward you. Chapter 10. The contract you signed before birth. There are agreements your soul made, long before your first breath touched this world. Not contracts written on scrolls, or vows spoken in ceremony, but vibrational agreements, woven into the essence of your being. These contracts shaped your path before your feet ever touched the earth. They determined the challenges you would face, the lessons you would learn, the desires that would burn in your heart, and the gifts you would carry through lifetimes. You may not remember signing them, but your soul does. And the more you awaken, the more you feel the pull of those ancient agreements. In a hidden sanctuary nestled between 2 towering cliffs, lived a mystic named Aurel. Pilgrims traveled from distant kingdoms to seek his counsel, for it was said he could read the contracts of a soul as easily as one reads a storybook. One day a warrior named Fenric arrived at Aurel's door. He was strong, fearless, revered, yet burdened by an ache he could not explain. I have conquered empires, Fenric said, but there is a longing in me I cannot satisfy. A path I feel drawn to, yet it terrifies me. Am I cursed, broken, lost? Aurel invited him to sit by the fire. The flames danced strangely, as though listening. You feel the pull of a forgotten contract, the mystic said calmly. It is the agreement your soul made before you entered this life. Fenric frowned. What agreement? Aurel touched the warrior's chest. An agreement to awaken. The word echoed through Fenric's bones. You were not born to conquer lands, Aurel continued. You were born to conquer fear, to remember your true strength, to rise not as a warrior of the sword, but as a warrior of consciousness. Fenric trembled. No one had ever spoken to him like this. Aurel gestured toward the flames. Look closely. As Fenric gazed into the fire, the flames began to shift, forming images like living memories, a vast luminous realm, a gathering of souls, a council of light, and in the center, a radiant version of himself, serene and powerful beyond comprehension. The luminous Fenric stepped forward and spoke, "I choose challenge. I choose courage. I choose the path that will awaken my deepest nature." Fenric gasped as the vision faded. He had chosen his life, his struggles, his strengths, his fears, his potential, not as punishment, but as preparation. Oral placed a hand on his shoulder. "You agreed to remember who you are, by walking through what you fear. Your longing is the echo of your soul contract. Your fear is the veil hiding it." This revelation shattered Fenric's identity and rebuilt him anew. He realized that every obstacle he had faced was not random, but specifically crafted to stir his awakening. Every betrayal formed resilience. Every triumph built humility. Every wound forged compassion. Every loss carved depth. Every challenge sharpened awareness. Every longing pointed toward his soul's true path. Your soul, too, made contracts before entering this life. Contracts to meet certain people. Teachers disguised as lovers, enemies disguised as catalysts, friends disguised as mirrors. Contracts to experience certain challenges, not because you needed to suffer, but because your soul sought evolution. Contracts to awaken certain gifts. Intuition, healing, compassion, leadership, the ability to see beyond the veil. Contracts to remember truths you once carried effortlessly. Your desires reveal your contracts. Your fears reveal your contracts. Your synchronicities reveal your contracts. Your deepest longings are not whims, they are reminders. You are not lost, you are remembering, and every step you take toward authenticity is a step into the contract you once signed, with the universe itself. Ancient practice, the soul's oath. Sit where you will not be disturbed. Close your eyes. Place your hands over your heart. Whisper silently, "Show me what I agreed to remember." Let impressions rise. Images, emotions, sensations, even subtle whispers. Ask, what path am I being called toward? What fear is guarding my greatest gift? What awakening is asking to unfold? Allow the answers to come without force. As they rise, whisper, "I honor my contract. I step into what I chose. I remember who I am." You do not walk a random path. You walk the corridor of a sacred agreement. Every longing is a compass. Every challenge is initiation. Every breakthrough is prophecy fulfilled. You have not strayed. You have begun to remember. Chapter 11. Timelines fold for the aligned. Most people believe life unfolds in a straight line. Past behind them, future ahead of them, present beneath their feet. But this is an illusion crafted for the five senses. Beneath the surface of the physical world, time does not move forward. It expands sideways. Every possibility exists at once, each timeline running parallel to countless others. A vast ocean of potential realities, all shimmering just beyond the veil of perception. Your alignment determines which timeline you inhabit. Alignment is not perfection, it is coherence. It is the harmony between your intention, your emotional frequency, and your awareness. When you align your inner world, timelines fold to meet you. Paths that would have taken years collapse into weeks. Opportunities that seemed impossible appear effortlessly. People who are out of reach cross your path as if guided by invisible currents. It is not the timeline that shifts, it is you. In a distant mountain village surrounded by sapphire lakes, lived a young seer named Kalen. He possessed an unusual gift. In moments of deep presence, he could glimpse alternate paths. Timelines branching like roots beneath the surface of reality. But Kalen lived in frustration. No matter how clearly he saw a potential future, he struggled to reach it. He could sense a version of himself who was wiser, stronger, more fulfilled. Yet his life remained tangled in stagnation. One evening, Kalen sought counsel from an ancient monk who tended a secluded temple at the edge of the lake. The monk, named Jinhai, had eyes that reflected galaxies and a silence so profound. It softened the air around him. Kalen bowed deeply. "Master," he said, "I see many versions of my life. Some brighter, some darker, but I cannot reach the ones I desire. Why am I bound to this path, when others clearly exist?" Jinhai smiled faintly and handed Kalen a smooth stone. "Throw this into the lake," he instructed. Kalen did. Ripples spread outward, distorting the reflection of the moon. "Now," Jinhai said, "touch the surface with your finger." Kalen did so. The ripples shifted, curving, redirecting, merging. "Do you see?" the monk asked. "The lake is not choosing a path, it is responding to your frequency." Kalen frowned. "I don't understand." Jinhai pointed to the altered ripples. "You do not walk into your timeline. Your timeline bends toward you, according to your alignment." Kalen felt something inside him loosen. "When your energy is scattered," Jinhai continued, "the timelines that mirror disarray approach you. When your emotions contradict your intentions, you call forward fragmented realities. When your consciousness is divided, your path becomes divided." He stepped closer. "But when you align, when your thoughts, feelings, and awareness vibrate in harmony, the timeline of your highest potential folds gently toward you, like a lotus opening beneath sunlight." Kalen felt tears sting his eyes. He had spent years chasing a future he did not realize was trying to reach him. Jinhai guided him into a state of stillness. As the moon's reflection danced on the lake, Kalen felt reality respond to his breath. He sensed timelines like strings of light, each humming with unique frequencies. And then he understood. He could not reach the timeline he desired, because he was vibrating at a frequency that contradicted it. To reach a higher timeline, he did not need to force change. He needed to become aligned with the version of himself who was already living it. The shift was internal. The timeline was inevitable. For timelines do not choose you. You choose them through alignment. You have felt this too. Those sudden leaps forward that defy logic. The uncanny synchronicities that guide you to new realities. The sensation of stepping into a version of your life that seemed impossible only months before. These are not coincidences. They are timeline-folding events, moments when your frequency rises, and the universe reorganizes itself around your coherence. The truth is simple. When you align emotionally, mentally, and energetically, your desired timeline cannot resist you. It is drawn to you with magnetic precision. Your job is not to chase the future. Your job is to become the version of yourself who naturally lives there. Timelines do not respond to effort, they respond to resonance. And the more aligned you are, the more effortlessly reality shifts. Ancient practice, the timeline. Breath, close your eyes. Inhale slowly through your nose. As you inhale, imagine drawing energy from the timeline you desire. Exhale through your mouth. As you exhale, release any emotion, belief, or pattern that contradicts it. Repeat silently, "I align. Therefore my timeline aligns with me." Allow the version of yourself, living your highest potential, to rise within your awareness. Feel their confidence, feel their peace, feel their certainty. This is alignment. This is resonance. This is how timelines fold. When you match the frequency of your future becomes your present. Chapter 12. The Power That Follows Your Name. There is a force that moves with you, long before you speak a word, or take a step, or form a thought. It is the vibration of your identity. The energetic signature woven into your name and your presence, your self-recognition. Your name is more than sound. It is a frequency. When spoken, thought, or remembered, it summons the entire history of your consciousness. Your experiences, beliefs, wounds, desires, your dormant power, and forgotten wisdom. Your identity emits a frequency that the universe responds to instantly. This is why affirmations spoken from the throat often fail, while intentions spoken from identity reshape reality. Identity is the birthplace of manifestation. In a bustling city carved from white marble lived a calligrapher named Elion. He was renowned for his ability to inscribe names with such beauty that people hung his work over their doorways, believing it brought good fortune. But Elion carried a private torment. He despised his own name. To him it felt small, unworthy, burdensome, a reminder of a lineage marked by poverty and misfortune. He believed changing his name would change his destiny. One afternoon, Elion traveled to a remote monastery, seeking a master of ancient energies, a sage known as Malon. When Elion arrived, he demanded, "Give me a new name." one that carries power, one the universe will respect. Malon shook his head. The universe does not respond to syllables, he said. It responds to the frequency you attach to them. He guided Elion to a quiet chamber, where a single mirror hung from the wall. Speak your name, Malon instructed. Elion did. And the candle beside him flickered, the flame shrinking as though suffocated. Malon nodded. You see, it is not your name that lacks power. It is the energy you've bound to it. Elion lowered his gaze. Malon stepped close and whispered, Your name is a vessel. You must fill it with your power instead of your pain. He instructed Elion to sit before the mirror and speak his name again, but this time to speak it with the resonance of who he wished to become. Not timid, not ashamed, not small, but with the vibration of authority, clarity, and inner knowing. Elion inhaled deeply and spoke his name once more. Instantly the flame swelled, glowing brighter, stretching taller, casting shadows that danced like living spirits. The room pulsed. Malon smiled. There, that is your true name, not changed, but charged. Elion realized in that moment, that identity precedes destiny. When you speak your name with weakness, the universe bends around that weakness. When you speak your name with fear, your world shrinks to contain that fear. When you speak your name with power, your reality expands to match that power. This is the hidden mechanism. The universe mirrors the identity you embody, not the identity you wish for, not the identity you pretend to hold, the identity you actually vibrate. If you identify as unworthy, you will repel blessings. If you identify as powerless, you will find yourself trapped in stagnant realities. If you identify as unlucky, synchronicities will dry up like water under harsh sun. But the moment you shift your identity, the moment you speak your own name, with reverence, certainty, and presence, reality begins to reorganize. Your name becomes an invocation, calling forth your higher self. Most people never realize this. They speak their name as if it were an afterthought, as if it carries no weight. But your name is a spell you cast every time you answer to it. Your life follows the energy with which you speak yourself. This is why the universe responds to those who declare themselves with clarity, not arrogance, not ego, but certainty. Certainty is magnetic. When you know who you are, the world reflects that knowing. When you waver, the world mirrors your wavering. Identity is the foundation upon which all manifestation is built. Before reality can shift around you, you must shift who you are within you. Ancient practice, the name of power. Stand before a mirror. Look into your eyes, not the reflection, the awareness behind the reflection. Inhale deeply, let your shoulders soften. Speak your name aloud. Slowly, deliberately, with the tone of someone remembering their divinity. Feel the vibration travel through your chest, your throat, your spine. Speak it again. This time, not as the person you have been, but as the person you were born to become. Let your name become a frequency you rise into. Whisper internally, this is who I am, and reality reflects it. Your name is a vessel. Fill it with the power that has always belonged to you, and watch the universe respond with breathtaking precision. Chapter 13. Desire as Divine Instruction. Most people believe their desires are personal, private whims, selfish cravings, fleeting impulses of the human ego. But the truth, ancient and sacred, is far different. Desire is divine instruction. Every yearning that rises from the core of your being is a message, a directive, a blueprint whispered by the universe itself. Desire is not random. Desire is guidance. Desire is the GPS of the soul. When you feel a longing stirring within you, not the shallow wants shaped by comparison or fear, but the deep magnetic pull that returns again and again, you are feeling the universe nudging you toward a timeline where your highest expression lives. Your true desires are not chosen by your mind. They are planted by your spirit in the heart of an ancient kingdom, surrounded by rolling golden plains. Lived a young woman named Ilara. From childhood, she felt a persistent ache, a desire to travel beyond the kingdom's borders, to walk lands whispered about in old stories, to see the glowing cliffs her ancestors spoke of in soft tones by firelight. But her family dismissed her yearning. Stay here, they pleaded. Safety is found in familiarity. Travel brings danger. Elara tried to listen. She tried to bury the longing beneath chores, duties, responsibilities. But the desire never died. It grew stronger with each passing season, like a seed pushing against the earth, desperate to bloom. One night, after years of resisting her own heart, Elara visited the village elder, a man known only as the keeper of the hidden wind. She confessed her longing, her restlessness, her guilt. "I should feel grateful," Elara whispered. "I should be content. Why do I desire something more? What is wrong with me?" The old man laughed softly, a sound like leaves brushing stone. "My child," he said, "there is nothing wrong with desire. It is the universe placing its hands on your back and gently pushing." He reached for a clay jar and poured sand across the table. The grains formed random patterns. Yet as the wind from the window drifted across the surface, the patterns shifted into intricate shapes, as though guided by an invisible hand. "This," he said, pointing to the design, "is your desire, not created by you, created through you." Elara frowned. "I don't understand." The elder touched her heart. "Your desire is the wind, your life is the sand. Do not curse the wind for wishing to move." She felt something awaken, a recognition she couldn't explain. "Your desire is the universe remembering itself through you," he continued. "When you move toward it, you align with your highest path. When you resist it, you feel suffering." Tears filled Elara's eyes as she realized the heavy truth. All the years she spent fighting her longing were years spent fighting her destiny. The next morning, she left the village with nothing but a small bag and the pulse of divine desire guiding her steps. Her journey was not easy. She weathered storms, crossed unfamiliar terrain, faced the shadows of her own fear. But with every challenge, she felt something profound, alignment, as though unseen forces cleared the path before her. Months later, she reached the glowing cliffs of her ancestors, and when she placed her palm upon their shimmering surface, memories she never lived flooded her mind. Remnants of her lineage, her past lives, her soul's forgotten contract. She collapsed to her knees, overwhelmed by recognition. Her desire had been divine instruction all along. The universe uses longing to move you toward the version of yourself that already exists in another timeline. Desire is not selfish. Desire is sacred. It is the whisper of your higher self, attempting to get your attention. When you desire love, your soul is calling you toward healing. When you desire abundance, your soul is calling you toward expansion. When you desire freedom, your soul is calling you toward purpose. When you desire expression, your soul is calling you toward authenticity. Desire is the compass of destiny, and every time you ignore it, you dim your own light. The universe does not plant desires without intention. It places them within you, because there exists a version of you for whom that desire is already fulfilled. Your longing is a signal of alignment, a preview of who you are becoming. The only question is whether you will listen. Ancient practice, the desires of truth. Sit quietly with your eyes half closed. Place your hand on your heart. Breathe deeply. Ask internally, what desire refuses to leave me? What longing returns no matter how I try to silence it? What is the universe trying to awaken through me? Do not judge the answers. Do not push them away. Do not analyze it, just listen. Then whisper, "I honor this desire. I allow it. I follow its truth." Because desire is not asking for permission. It is offering direction. And when you follow your deepest desire, you follow the divine path written for you before your first breath. Chapter 14. The universe moves when you stop forcing. There is a moment in every seeker's journey when effort becomes the very thing preventing progress, when striving blocks receiving, when control suffocates flow. This is the paradox few understand. The universe moves when you stop forcing. Most people have been taught that manifestation requires effort, that you must fight, push, plan, strategize, bend reality with willpower. But the ancient truth is softer, gentler, more elegant. Manifestation flows not from dominance, but from alignment, not from force, but from allowance. In a quiet fishing village by a restless sea, lived a man named Clove. He had spent his entire life trying to control the waves, predicting tides, directing nets, forcing the ocean to give him what he needed. And for many years he believed control brought success. But as seasons passed, his catches grew smaller, the tides more unpredictable, the sea more resistant. One evening, frustrated and exhausted, Clove threw down his nets and wandered to the shore. There, he saw an old fisherman, sitting calmly beside a small wooden boat. The boat was filled with fish, more than Clove had caught in an entire week. "How?" Clove demanded. "I spend all day forcing the sea to give me what I need, yet you sit here quietly and receive more than I ever have." The old man laughed softly. "Force is fear-wearing armor," he said. "When I stop forcing, the sea reveals its generosity." Clove's brows knitted. "But how? How do you receive without forcing?" "Come," the old man said, "let me show you." He handed Clove a single net and guided him into shallow waters. "Throw the net," he instructed. Clove obeyed, but with the same tension and urgency. That marked all his efforts. The net tangled upon itself, sinking awkwardly, empty. The old man shook his head. "Your fear knots the net before it touches the water." He placed a hand on Clove's shoulder and said gently, "You must release the outcome before the net leaves your hands." The old fisherman closed his eyes, breathed deeply, and cast the net with effortless grace. Smooth, fluid, surrendered. Within seconds, the net filled with shimmering fish. Clove's eyes widened. "The ocean responds to your energy," the old man said. "When your heart is clenched, the world reflects that tension. When your spirit softens, the world opens." Clove sank to his knees in the water, overwhelmed by the truth. It was not his lack of effort. That blocked his abundance. It was his obsession with control. The old man continued. "Forcing is the child of fear. Flowing is the child of trust." Clove asked, "How do I stop forcing?" The fisherman pointed to the horizon, where the setting sun painted the sea in molten gold. "You stop forcing," he said, "when you stop believing that everything depends on you." Something inside Clove shattered, and in the emptiness that followed, he felt the first breath of freedom. When you force, you communicate lack. When you allow, you communicate trust. Control chokes possibility. Surrender invites synchronicity. The universe does not expand in response to tension. It expands in response to openness. Opportunities flow. When your energy is receptive, paths reveal themselves. When your mind relaxes, answers arrive. When your heart softens, the greatest manifestations do not come through force. They come through alignment. Force says, "It must happen this way." Alignment says, "I trust it will happen in the best way." Force says, "Now." Alignment says, "I allow divine timing." Force says, "I control." Alignment says, "I collaborate." When you stop forcing, you stop suffocating the timeline. Your soul is ready to receive. Your desire already exists. Your next level is already created. Your manifestation is already arranged, but your tension blocks its path. Your fear slows its arrival. Surrender is not giving up. It is opening up. And when you open, the universe moves. Ancient practice, the release of control. Sit in a quiet space. Place your palms facing upward. Close your eyes. Bring to mind something you have been forcing. A desire, a relationship, an outcome, a timeline you've tried to rush. Feel the tension in your body as you think about it. Notice the contraction, the holding. Now as you exhale, whisper, "I release the how and when." And for a moment, feel the relief of not carrying what was never yours to control. Then whisper, "I allow what aligns to find me." Breathe in softness. Breathe out surrender. The nets of your life are untangling. The tides are shifting. The universe is moving, quietly preparing to deliver what tension once blocked. When you stop forcing, you make room for the miraculous. Chapter 15. The Emotional Compass. There is a guidance system within you, far older than thought, far wiser than logic, far more precise than any map or prophecy. It is your emotional compass, the sacred mechanism through which the universe speaks, nudging you gently toward expansion and away from contraction. Your emotions are not random chemical reactions. They are vibrational indicators, whispers of alignment, messages from your higher self, encoded in feeling. Every emotion you experience is a reflection of the frequency you are tuned to in relation to your soul's true path. When you feel joy, peace, excitement, or openness, you are aligned. You are facing your true north. When you feel heaviness, resistance, frustration, or dread, you are off path. Not because you are wrong, but because something inside you is calling for redirection. In a small city built along the terraces of a misty mountain, there lived a woman named Aveline. She was admired by all who knew her, disciplined, accomplished, relentlessly dedicated. Yet despite her outward success, Aveline felt hollow inside, as though each achievement drained her instead of fulfilling her. One morning after a sleepless night, filled with silent tears, Aveline left her home and wandered up the mountainside until she found an elderly monk tending a garden of deep violet flowers. The monk looked up, smiled gently and said, "You've been walking in the wrong direction." Aveline froze. "How could you possibly know that?" He tapped his chest. "I listened to the compass you've ignored." She sank to her knees beside him. "I've done everything I was supposed to do," she confessed. "I've followed the rules, the plans, the expectations, yet I feel more lost than ever. What is wrong with me?" The monk plucked a violet petal and held it to the light. "This petal leans toward the sun," he said, "because it feels warmth. Not because it thinks warmth, not because it plans warmth, not because it is told to want warmth." He placed the petal in Aveline's hand. "But when you lean away from warmth, from joy, from ease, from excitement, you call the experience a discipline or responsibility or the right thing, when in truth you are ignoring the most ancient guidance in existence." Aveline's breath trembled. "I don't know what feels good anymore," she whispered. "I only know what I'm supposed to do." The monk nodded sympathetically. "When you silence your emotional compass long enough to please others, you forget how to hear your own soul." He guided her to place her palms on the earth and close her eyes. "Feel," he instructed. "Do not think, do not analyze, do not judge, simply feel." At first, Aveline sensed nothing but a muted heaviness, as if her emotions were buried beneath layers of obligation. But slowly, like embers reigniting under ash, she felt a subtle shift. Her body softened, her breath deepened, her mind quieted, and in that quiet, something whispered. Not a word, not a sentence, a direction, a sensation of lightness, pulling her toward a path she had abandoned long ago, a childhood dream she had dismissed as impractical. Her chest warmed, her stomach fluttered, her shoulders loosened, her compass awakened. Tears streamed down her cheeks. "I feel it," she whispered. "I finally feel it." The monk smiled. "Good. That is your north. Follow that feeling and life will unfold with the grace you've been craving." Aveline returned to the city a different woman. She no longer made decisions from fear or duty, but from resonance. She learned to choose not what looked sensible, but what felt expansive, and her life transformed, not gradually, but rapidly, as though reality itself had been waiting for her to tune into her emotional truth. This is the power you hold as well. Your emotional compass is not arbitrary. It is calibrated to your soul's purpose. When you feel open, you are aligned. When you feel closed, you are off path. Yet most people override this guidance with logic, expectation, memories, comparison, or the illusion of responsibility. But emotions are not obstacles. They are messengers. They do not demand. They reveal. The universe speaks through feeling, because feeling is vibration, and vibration is the language of creation. When you ignore your emotional compass, you walk heavily. When you honor it, the world opens like a blooming flower. Your emotional compass will never betray you. It will never lie. It will never confuse you. It will never lead you somewhere you are not meant to be. The question is simply whether you will listen. Ancient practice, the morning alignment. Upon waking, place your hand on your heart. Ask softly, "Do I feel open or closed today?" Do not justify, do not rationalize, and do not force. Simply notice. If you feel open, move forward with confidence. The currents of the universe support you. If you feel closed, pause, breathe, redirect. Something within you is asking for realignment. Your emotional compass will guide you to your highest timeline, one feeling at a time. Chapter 16. The fear that guards your greatest gift. Every soul carries a gift. a power so profound, so luminous, so transformative that the world itself bends to make room for it. But every great gift is guarded by a powerful fear, not the fear of danger, but the fear of becoming who you truly are. This fear arises not to punish you, but to test the sincerity of your becoming, to protect the sacred, to ensure you step into your destiny consciously, courageously, deliberately. The fear you resist the most is the doorway to your highest expression. In a desert empire of ancient sandstone palaces lived a scribe named Narine. He possessed a rare talent. His written words carried resonance, a subtle power that stirred the hearts of anyone who read them. But Narine feared this gift. He wrote only in private, burning most of his pages before anyone could see them. His fear was not that his words lacked value, but that they carried too much. What if I am seen too clearly? He wondered. What if my gift changes things I'm not ready to change? What if my voice disrupts the world I know? So he hid, for years, for lifetimes. One evening, as the city slept, a hooded traveler approached Narine's humble dwelling and knocked softly on his door. Narine opened it cautiously. The traveler said nothing. He simply handed Narine a scroll, sealed with an unfamiliar symbol. When Narine broke the seal, his breath caught in his throat. Inside the scroll was a poem he had written and burned many years earlier. His hands trembled. "How?" he whispered. The traveler spoke at last. "A gift cannot be destroyed," he said. "You may burn the page, but not the fire." Narine's knees weakened. "I'm afraid of what my gift will awaken," he admitted. The traveler removed his hood, revealing eyes that shimmered with ancient familiarity. "Your fear is not warning you away," the traveler said softly. "It is pointing toward the path you were born to walk." He placed a hand over Narine's heart. "Your greatest fear guards your greatest gift, because the soul must be brave enough to carry the weight of its own potential." Narine wept, not from sadness, but from recognition. He understood in that moment. That fear had never been his enemy. It had been his threshold, the veil separating who he was from who he could become. The next morning, Narine stood in the city square and read his words to the people. The effect was immediate. The crowd fell silent, breathless, as if they had been waiting lifetimes to hear his voice. The fear dissolved, the gift expanded, the world shifted, and Narine finally stepped into a timeline that had been waiting for him since the beginning of time. Your life holds the same pattern. The fear you avoid is not random, it is a signpost, a map marker, a guardian standing before the treasure. Your fear says, "This way lies power," but most turn away. They misinterpret fear as a stop sign, when it is actually an arrow. Fear guards your gift because your gift is potent. If it was small, fear would not stand in front of it. Your fear is a sacred invitation, not to retreat but to rise. Fear appears at the threshold of every transformation. Its presence means you are close, so close, to a version of yourself you have not yet embodied, and the only movement required is forward. Ancient practice, the shadow door. Sit in silence, close your eyes, bring to mind a fear that follows you, the one that returns. Whenever you imagine expanding, expressing, growing, do not run from it. Face it, then whisper inwardly, "You are not the barrier, you are the doorway." Ask the fear, "What gift are you guarding?" Allow the truth to rise gently, as an image, a memory, a desire, a calling. When it comes, place your hand over your heart and whisper, "I am ready to step through." Because on the other side of your greatest fear lives the version of you who no longer needs it. Chapter 17. Wealth as Conscious Energy. There is a secret about abundance that few dare to speak aloud. Money is not material at its core. It is not paper, coin, or digital code. Money is conscious energy. And like all energy, it responds to frequency, flow, and intention. Most people chase money as though it is an external object, to be captured, accumulated, and controlled. But money is not a thing to pursue. It is a current to align with. Abundance is not something you earn, it is something you allow. Your relationship with money is a mirror of your relationship with your own worth. When you constrict, money constricts. When you soften, money softens. When you distrust, money avoids you. When you honor your worth, money seeks you. in a sprawling port city alive with bustling markets and fragrant spices, lived a merchant named Kiran. Though he worked tirelessly from dawn to dusk, his coin purse remained nearly empty. He bargained fiercely, saved obsessively, and clung to every coin with tense desperation. The harder he grasped, the more money seemed to slip through his fingers. One day, in a moment of overwhelming frustration, Kiran wandered into a small tea house tucked between towering bazaars. Behind the counter stood an elderly woman whose eyes sparkled with a mischievous wisdom. "You carry the scent of scarcity," she said without looking up. Kiran gasped. "What do you mean? I work harder than anyone. I deserve abundance." The woman poured tea into a clay cup and slid it toward him. "Drink," she said. "Then I will show you." Kiran sipped the warm, fragrant brew. Instantly his shoulders relaxed, his breath deepened, his heart softened. Only then did the old woman sit across from him. "Money is a river," she said. "It flows toward those who open their hands, not those who clench their fists." Kiran frowned. "But if I loosen my grip, won't I lose everything?" She shook her head. "You lose everything because you grip too tightly. The river avoids those who attempt to dam it." She took a coin from her pocket and placed it in the center of the table. "This coin is not wealth," she said. "It is a symbol, a reflection, a response." Kiran leaned closer, mesmerized. "Money comes to those who match its nature," she explained. "And money's nature is circulation." She pushed the coin across the table, letting it glide effortlessly under her fingertips. "See how it moves easily when the energy is soft?" she asked. Then she tensed her hand and slammed her palm onto the coin, pinning it in place. "And see how it freezes when fear tightens around it." Kiran swallowed hard. He felt a truth unraveling inside him. "You equate money with safety," the woman continued. "But true safety comes from trust. You think money will give you freedom, yet freedom is the frequency that attracts money." She leaned in, eyes gleaming. "Wealth is not something you pursue, it is something you become." Kiran returned to the market with a transformed awareness. He noticed how his fear had seeped into every transaction. The tension in his jaw, the desperation in his bargaining, the distrust in every exchange. For the first time, he approached his work with openness, not grasping and not forcing, simply allowing. Within days, business increased. Within weeks, opportunities appeared from unexpected places. Within months, Kiran became one of the most prosperous merchants in the region. His success did not come from strategy, but from frequency. He had learned the ultimate truth. Wealth is not an accumulation of money. Wealth is the consciousness that attracts money. Money flows toward clarity, gratitude, openness, confidence, generosity, self-worth, authentic value, and money avoids fear, scarcity, self-doubt, shame, constriction, desperation, misalignment. Your relationship with money mirrors your relationship with yourself. When you doubt your worth, money reflects that doubt. When you shrink your value, money shrinks its presence. When you fear spending, money fears approaching. When you believe you must suffer to deserve abundance, money comes only through struggle. But when you trust your worth, money feels safe entering your life. When you expand your frequency, money expands its flow. When you align with ease, money travels the effortless path. Money is not moral. It is responsive. It merely echoes the vibrational truth you hold. Your abundance does not rise. When the economy rises, it rises when you rise. Ancient practice, the circulation of trust. Sit comfortably. Hold a coin, dollar, or symbolic token of money in your hand. Close your eyes. Whisper inwardly, "You are energy, and I allow you to flow." Feel your fingers soften around the object. Feel the tension leave your shoulders. Feel your breath loosen the grip of fear. Now gently pass the coin between your hands. Slowly, lovingly, with ease. This motion symbolizes circulation. It awakens your energetic permission. Finish with the affirmation. I trust the flow of abundance. I am aligned with prosperity. I am open to receiving. Watch how your relationship with money shifts, not through effort, but through energy. Chapter 18. Relationships as Resonance. It is one of the most misunderstood truths in the universe. You do not attract what you want, You attract what you are. Every relationship in your life, every friend, lover, partner, mentor, adversary, is a mirror reflecting your unconscious beliefs, your emotional tone, your vibrational signature. Relationships do not happen to you. They emerge from you. The people you draw toward you match your resonance with stunning precision, like harmonizes with like. Wound harmonizes with wound. Light harmonizes with light. Healing harmonizes with healing. Power harmonizes with power. In a quiet lakeside village lived a craftsman named Silas. He longed for companionship, and yet every person he attracted left him feeling unseen, unheard, unvalued. He convinced himself he was cursed. One evening, after another lonely day, Silas wandered along the lake and encountered a traveling sage, sitting on a weathered stone, tuning a pair of ancient wooden flutes. The sage motioned for Silas to sit. "Why do I attract only those who hurt me?" Silas asked. The sage handed him one of the flutes. "Play a note," he instructed. Silas did. A shaky, uneven sound. The sage then played his flute. Immediately, the second flute began vibrating in Silas's hands. Without being touched, Silas gasped. "How did you make my flute sing?" The sage smiled softly. "I didn't," he said. "Your note awakened it." Silas stared at the trembling instrument, realizing it resonated with the frequency he produced. "Every relationship in your life works the same way," the sage explained. "People do not respond to your words or wishes, they respond to your frequency." Silas felt a heaviness lift from his chest. "So I'm not cursed?" he asked. The sage shook his head. "No, you are resonating with your unhealed wounds. Those who enter your life merely match the note you unconsciously play." Silas looked out over the lake, its surface shimmering like liquid silver. "How do I change the melody?" he whispered. The sage touched his heart. "By tuning the instrument within. When you heal your wounds, you no longer attract those who mirror them. You attract those who mirror your wholeness." Silas spent the following months tending to the rarely touched corners of his heart, softening his defenses, mourning his losses, releasing old beliefs, and the world responded. Slowly at first, then with breathtaking clarity. New people entered his life, gentle, supportive, empowering individuals, whose presence felt like sunlight on skin. Silas finally understood, healing does not change relationships. Healing changes who you attract. Every relationship is a vibrational agreement. The friend who drains you is matching your old boundary patterns. The lover who fears intimacy is matching your unhealed abandonment wound. The partner who inspires you is matching your growing self-worth. The mentor who appears suddenly is matching your expanded consciousness. The conflict with another mirrors the conflict within yourself. The love that flows effortlessly reflects your newfound inner harmony. No connection is accidental. Every person in your life is a tuning fork, responding to your inner frequency. Relationships reveal your evolution. When your vibration rises, certain connections fall away, not because they are bad, but because they no longer match your resonance. Similarly, new connections appear that feel predestined because they are aligned with your new frequency. The universe organizes your relationships with the precision of a master orchestra conductor. When you vibrate with fear, you attract those who feed the fear. When you vibrate with strength, you attract those who reflect your strength. When you vibrate with wholeness, you attract those who amplify your wholeness. Relationships are not tests, they are mirrors. Your heart writes the frequency, your life reads it back to you. Ancient practice, the resonance reset. Sit in a quiet space, place your hand on your heart. Ask gently, what note am I sending into the world? Feel the answer, feel its texture, feel its vibration. Then ask, what relationships am I calling through this note? Finally, whisper inwardly, I tune myself to love, I tune myself to truth. I tune myself to my highest resonance. Exhale softly. The people who match your old frequency will slowly fade. The ones who match your new frequency will appear effortlessly, as though they were always meant to find you. Because they were. Chapter 19. The dimmer switch of belief. Belief is not a switch you flip. It is a dimmer, gradually brightening or dimming, according to your thoughts, emotions, and identity. You may think the universe responds to strong desire, but it responds to consistent belief. Not the belief you speak aloud, not the belief you wish you had, not the belief you pretend to hold. The universe responds to the belief you return to again and again, the steady humming vibration beneath your surface thoughts. In a seaside province lined with weathered lighthouses lived a woman named Marin. She was known for her intelligence, her resourcefulness, her creativity, but she was also known for her inconsistency. One week, Marin would start a new venture. With blazing enthusiasm, convinced her success was inevitable. The next week, doubt would settle like fog, muting the light of her confidence, until she could barely see the shore ahead. Her belief flickered like an unstable flame, bright one moment, dim the next, and her life reflected the fluctuation. Opportunities appeared only to dissolve. Progress surged forward, then abruptly reversed. Relationships blossomed, then withered. Marin felt cursed by instability, when in truth her belief was the source of the instability. One evening, after a particularly disheartening setback, Marin climbed the hill to the oldest lighthouse on the coast. A towering structure rarely visited, except by wandering travelers and drifting seabirds. Inside the lantern room sat an elderly keeper named Rowan. His hair was silver, his posture upright, but his eyes glowed with deep, anchored wisdom. Without turning toward her, he said, "You have come because your light flickers." Marin froze. "How did you know?" Rowan placed a hand on the lighthouse lantern. "This lighthouse does not fail because the flame lacks strength. It fails when the keeper neglects the wick." He turned to her fully now. "Your belief is the wick. Your desire is merely the spark." Marin swallowed. "I want to believe consistently. I just don't know how." Rowan nodded gently. "You believe you must create belief through force, repetition, or willpower. But belief is not created, belief is allowed." He lifted a small oil can. "Every night I tend to this flame, not because it is weak, but because I respect its nature." He filled the lantern with oil, trimmed the wick and wiped the glass clean. Strong light comes from steady tending, not sudden bursts of intensity. Marin sat beside him. "What does that mean for me?" He handed her a tiny brass lamp. "Light this," he instructed. She struck the flint. The flame flickered into existence. Rowan then cupped his hands around the flame and whispered, "This is your confidence." His hands drew closer, cutting off oxygen. The flame flickered weakly. "This is your self-doubt." The flame dimmed. "This is your confusion." The flame almost vanished. Then he removed his hands entirely, allowing air to reach the flame. It grew stronger. "This," he said, "is allowing." Marin felt something crack open inside herself. Forcing belief is like suffocating the flame with your own hands. Allowing belief is creating the conditions for the flame to grow naturally. She breathed deeply, letting the words settle into her bones. "You do not strengthen belief by shouting over fear," Rowan continued. "You strengthen belief by removing what dims it." "What dims it?" Marin asked. Rowan smiled. "Contradictory thoughts, self-doubt, unworthiness, old narratives, fear disguised as logic, the belief that miracles are too big and you are too small." He placed a hand on Marin's heart. "You do not have to burn brightly all at once. You only need to tend the flame each day, until it no longer flickers." She swallowed. "How do I do that?" "By choosing the next steady thought, not the highest, not the grandest, the next steadier thought. Instead of, 'I don't know if I can,' try, 'I am learning how.' Instead of, 'This will never happen,' try, 'Things are shifting.' Instead of, 'I feel lost,' try, 'I'm beginning to see clarity.' Belief grows quietly," he whispered, "like dawn, like tides, like the rising of the moon." Marin left the lighthouse that night with a flame of conviction that no longer flickered, a flame that over time became steady enough to illuminate her entire path. Her life transformed, not through force but through tending, and so will yours, because manifestation responds, not to short bursts of confidence, but to the steady glow of self-belief. Ancient practice, the wick of certainty. Sit comfortably, Close your eyes. Place your palm over your heart. Ask yourself, what belief of mine flickers the most? Feel the answer rise. Now whisper inwardly, what thought can I choose? That feels slightly steadier. Choose the next steadier thought and hold it gently, not with force, but with permission. This is tending your flame. Do it daily, because your belief's brightness shapes the entire landscape of your reality. Chapter 20. The Spacious Now. Time is a vast illusion, woven through the mind. To make the infinite digestible, your past is memory, your future is projection. Only the now is real, but the now is not what you think it is. Most people live in the now, as a tiny sliver between past and future, a fleeting spark, barely noticed, before it is gone. But the true now is spacious, expansive, infinite. It is the eternal moment, from which all creation flows. In the now, you are not confined by memory. You are not burdened by expectation. You are not shaped by fear. You are not limited by time. In the now, you are free. In a village built along the edge of a vast, whispering desert, lived a man named Senro. He was known for his ambitious spirit, always racing toward the next goal, the next task, the next horizon. His mind lived in tomorrow, his body lived in today, but his soul lived nowhere. One day, exhausted by a life of constant striving, Senro collapsed beside a well, at the edge of the desert. An old storyteller, wrapped in robes the color of twilight, found him lying in the sand. "You are suffocating," the storyteller remarked. Senro gasped. "I'm not suffocating. I'm overwhelmed." The storyteller shook his head. "Same thing. To live outside the present is to live without air." He offered Senro a sip of water and gestured toward the endless desert. "Tell me," he said, "what do you see?" "Sand," Senro replied. "Only sand." The storyteller smiled. "Then you are not here. You are only looking, not seeing." He pressed his palm to Senro's chest. "Be here." Senro tried, but his mind scattered, racing to unfinished tasks, half-formed plans, future anxieties. The storyteller sighed. "You live in the illusion of tomorrow," he said, "and tomorrow can never love you. Only the now can." Senro bowed his head. "I don't know how to stay here." The storyteller stood and drew a circle in the sand around Senro. "This is now," he said. "Sit in it. Do not think of yesterday. Do not think of tomorrow. Feel only this breath." Senro closed his eyes and inhaled. At first, nothing happened. His mind resisted, pulling him toward the familiar grip of planning and worry. But slowly, something softened. The world expanded. He heard the faint hum of desert wind, shifting grains of sand. He felt the warmth of sunlight, resting gently on his skin. He noticed the subtle rhythm of his breath, like waves upon a tranquil shore. The storyteller whispered, "When you enter the now, you return to your power." Senro felt the truth settle in his bones. For the first time in years, he was not running, not anticipating, not regretting. He was simply here. The storyteller knelt beside him. "The future is shaped, not by force, but by presence. When you abandon the now, you abandon the place where creation happens." He gestured to the vast horizon. "The desert teaches us that stillness expands the world, movement contracts it." Senro opened his eyes, and the desert did not look empty anymore. It looked endless, alive with possibility. The storyteller continued, "All manifestation is born in the now. You cannot create from the past. It's already done. You cannot create from the future. It isn't formed yet. Creation happens only here." Senro felt a surge of clarity. His life had always felt small because his now had been small, choked by fear, compressed by worry, crowded by mental noise. But the spacious now was vast enough to hold the universe. You too have lived in a narrow now, a now filled with urgency, pressure, fear, and anticipation. But the true now is wide enough for miracles to enter. When you fully inhabit the moment, your energy expands, your vibration rises, your awareness sharpens, and reality responds instantly. The present moment contains every possibility you will ever seek, not tomorrow, not later, now. The past cannot limit you unless you carry it. The future cannot frighten you unless you project it. Only the now shapes reality. Ancient practice. Entering the spacious now. Sit comfortably. Place both hands over your lower abdomen. Close your eyes. Inhale deeply. As you inhale, whisper inwardly, I return to now. Exhale slowly. Then gently ask yourself, what is here? Without memory or expectation, feel your senses awaken. Feel time dissolve. Feel the openness spreading within. This is the spacious now, the birthplace of creation, the gateway to awakening, the realm where you meet yourself. Beyond all limitations, live here and your entire life will reorganize itself around your presence. Chapter 21. The Dreamer Awakens Within the Dream. There comes a moment in every seeker's journey when the world they once believed to be solid and separate begins to shimmer, as though reality itself is thinning, revealing something luminous beneath. This moment is the beginning of awakening. Not awakening from the world, but awakening within it. You are not a character trapped in a dream. You are the dreamer, the consciousness projecting itself through form, story, identity, and experience. Reality is not happening to you. It is happening through you. Yet most humans forget this truth, believing themselves to be small, fragile, separate beings, navigating a world beyond their control. They do not realize they are walking through a dream of their own making. In a marble city suspended above vast turquoise waters, lived a scholar named Varel, a man revered for his intellect, but haunted by an emptiness he could not name. He dedicated his life to studying the mechanics of reality, stars, numbers, patterns, cycles, hoping knowledge would fill the void. But the more he learned, the more hollow he felt. One evening, while wandering through the ancient hall of mirrors, Varel paused before a massive obsidian mirror framed in gold. As he gazed into it, his reflection blurred, not distorted by movement or light, but by something else entirely. The air thickened, the mirror darkened. A presence stirred behind the glass, like a sleeping titan awakening. Suddenly, Varel saw two versions of himself. One stood where he was, small, worried, analytical. The other, radiant, calm, infinite, stood behind the glass, eyes glimmering with ancient recognition. Varel gasped. The luminous version of himself raised a hand and touched the glass. When Varel lifted his own hand and pressed it against the mirror, a shock of energy surged through him, and the world dissolved into light. In that moment, he found himself, floating in a vast expanse filled with impossible colors and resonant humming, a realm between the seen and unseen. There, the radiant self spoke, "You believe yourself to be the reflection, but you are the one who reflects." Varel trembled. What are you?" "I am you," the radiant self replied. "The part of you that never sleeps, never doubts, never dies. I am the dreamer." Varel's mind spun. "You mean this world is a dream?" The radiant being smiled. "All worlds are dreams, projected through consciousness, but your task is not to escape the dream. It is to awaken within it and remember your role as its creator." Images flashed around them. Moments from Varel's life, each one glowing with significance. The childhood memory he couldn't explain, the intuition that saved him once, the déjà vu that made his breath halt, the dreams that felt like messages, the sudden knowing he never studied for, the whisper that guided him in moments of danger, the synchronicities that lined his path with impossible timing. "These were not accidents," the radiant self said. "They were reminders that you are dreaming." Varel's voice shook. "Then why does life feel so real?" "Because the dream is meant to be immersive," the radiant self answered. "Otherwise, the lessons would not transform you." Varel felt himself sinking into a realization, so vast it swallowed his breath. "All this time," he murmured, "I believed I was a powerless observer." The radiant self glowed brighter. "You are not powerless. You are powerful beyond comprehension, not because of ego, but because you are consciousness itself." Varel bowed his head as tears spilled down his cheeks. The radiant self placed a gentle hand against Varel's heart. "Wake up within the dream," he whispered. "Live as the dreamer, not the character. Do this, and reality will respond to you, as easily as wind responds to the movement of your hand." Then the light faded, and Varel found himself back in the hall of mirrors, knees trembling, heart pounding. But something fundamental had shifted. From that day forward, Varel walked through life, not as a man trapped in circumstance, but as consciousness directing form. The world became fluid, responding effortlessly to his intention, his awareness, and his belief. He understood now that reality was a canvas and his identity the brush. And so he painted, with clarity, with faith, with awakened sight. You too are beginning to remember this truth. You are not the character struggling for control. You are the dreamer awakening to your own creation. Your desires are signals. Your emotions are guidance. Your intuition is communication between the dreamer and the dreamed. As you awaken within the dream, synchronicities multiply, manifestations accelerate, and life begins to feel choreographed by something both familiar and divine, because it is, and that something is you. Ancient practice, the mirror of the dreamer. Stand before a mirror, look into your own eyes, not the identity, not the mask, not the story, the awareness behind them. Whisper silently, I am the dreamer, creating through this form. Breathe deeply and allow the truth to settle. Then ask, what is the dream I now choose to shape? The moment you acknowledge yourself as the consciousness behind the character, you awaken within your own life, and awakening changes everything. Chapter 22. The Final Remembrance. You were never separate. Separation is the greatest illusion ever woven into the human experience. It is the veil that makes you believe. You are alone, you are small, you are fragile, you are isolated from the universe that birthed you. But separation was never real. It was a temporary forgetting, a necessary amnesia that allowed you to explore identity, embodiment, desire, choice, contrast, and growth. Now, as your awareness expands, you begin to remember a truth. Older than creation itself, you were never separate. You have always been the universe, experiencing itself as you. In a land of ancient forests and crystalline rivers lived a wanderer named Elion. He sought connection relentlessly, with people, purpose, spirit, truth, yet always carried a lingering loneliness that shadowed every step. One night, exhausted from travel, Elion collapsed beside a shimmering river that mirrored the moon like a polished blade of silver. A soft voice spoke from behind him. You search for what you already are. Elion turned to see a hooded figure, with a lantern glowing softly in their hand. Their presence radiated familiarity, not like a stranger, but like a memory. What do you mean? Elion asked. The figure sat beside him. You feel separate, because you believe the river ends where the land begins, but both are the same water, in different forms. Elion frowned. I don't understand. The figure touched the surface of the river. Ripples spread outward, and the lantern light shimmered like liquid stars. You are the ripple and the water, the figure said. You are the seeker and the sought. You are the question and the answer. Elion felt tears push against his eyes. All my life, he whispered, I felt alone. You were never alone, the figure answered gently. You were experiencing the illusion of aloneness. Because separation creates longing, and longing awakens remembrance. The figure pressed a hand to Elion's heart. You feel separate, only because you are looking through the eyes of the character. But if you look through the eyes of consciousness, you will see that everything is one movement, one breath, one being. Elion closed his eyes and allowed the words to sink into the marrow of his soul. Suddenly, the world shifted. He felt the river breathe. He felt the wind sigh. He felt the ground pulse. He felt the trees dream. He felt the stars hum. He felt the awareness within every leaf and stone and shadow. And he felt a presence, everywhere and nowhere, at once. It was him. It was the world. It was the same consciousness, expressing itself through infinite forms. He gasped. Everything he had ever touched, every person he had ever loved or lost, every place he had ever walked, all were extensions of the same source he had been part of all along. The figure whispered, You are not a wave searching for the ocean. You are the ocean discovering itself as a wave. Elion's heart burst open, flooded with a peace he had never known. The loneliness evaporated, not because someone filled it, but because he realized it had never been real. Separation had been a dream, and he was waking up from it. The figure stood, their lantern shining like a miniature sun. Remember this, they said. There is only one consciousness here, You are not in the universe. You are the universe, in temporary form. Then the figure faded into light, leaving Elion alone. And yet more connected than ever. From that night onward, Elion walked differently. He no longer sought connection. He lived connection. He no longer feared loneliness. He saw himself reflected in all beings. He no longer felt small. He felt infinite. Because he remembered the truth. There is only one self, expressing itself through countless expressions. And that self is not separate. You are not separate. You never were. The story of separation was part of the illusion you entered, so you could rediscover the joy of remembering your true nature. As this remembrance deepens, your relationships change, your manifestation accelerates, your fear dissolves, your intuition heightens, your compassion expands, your awareness sharpens. You realize you are the creator and the created, the dreamer and the dream, the witness and the experience, the light and the shadow, the question and the knowing. There is no distance between you and the universe, only the illusion of distance. And now that illusion is fading. Ancient practice, the returning. Close your eyes, place your hand upon your heart, breathe deeply, whisper silently, I return to the truth. That was never lost. Feel the breath move through you, feel the space within your chest expand. Feel the awareness behind your thoughts awaken. Ask gently, what part of me still believes I am separate? Let the answer rise. Without judgment, then whisper, I hold that part with compassion until it remembers. You are returning to yourself, not the small self, but the vast self that has always been here. And as you remember, the universe remembers through you, because you were never separate, only dreaming of it. And now you are waking.